Lakshmia Marie. I am a product marketing manager by day, a career consultant, I guess by night or weekend at this point, because a lot of things have changed. And I'm also a dog mom. And I always mention that in these types of talks because that ties into my work, actually. Um, when I decided to adopt Sammy in 2016, I knew having a puppy would require me to have some flexibility in my schedule. Like I couldn't be so rigid that I couldn't accommodate for, puppy accidents and playtime and snuggles and all that stuff. And when I would apply for work, I would tell them, hey, I kind of need some flexibility in my day because I have other things that I do. And depending on the company, they will either scoff at me or say, hey, if we're paying you for this amount of time, you can only work during this amount of time. And I'm sitting here like, as long as the job gets done and it's done well, it truly shouldn't matter. And I adopted that philosophy since then. And I'm sharing this with you guys because a lot of you are either hiring people, considering the idea of hiring folks, and truly trying to navigate what to delegate and outsource and how to handle those relationships. And I'm going to tell you, it's not as hard as you think because now, since we're working in the future, because we are in the future of work right now, as much as we don't want to talk about that, um, you have to understand that there's a lot more of give and take versus it being a dictatorship like it used to be back in the day. If you think being, super hard on people, not flexible, having all of these standards that you can't even uphold and expecting other people to do them, if you think you're going to grow from that, you're not. It's true, and I'm very happy that we're at a place that we're no longer requiring that. Well, at least for most of us. And so here's a fun fact. I do work in corporate America, but I work for a startup that's kind of in the middle. Like we're in the transitional phase of being founder led to actually product led. And in that journey, that requires us to have a lot of people working for us. We have a global team, literally. Like I'm actually the only person in my time zone and I'm in central time zone. We have folks all over the world. And if the company I worked for wasn't flexible with work, we wouldn't be able to actually provide quality care and service to our clients. Like us being flexible and having breathing room and space, and also trusting that the work will get done, has actually helped us grow in such a short amount of time. And yes, from at least from a US standpoint, I can't speak globally. We are a small company, we're a small business. We have less than 499 employees. Therefore, we're a small business. And so, you as a small business owner, you have that power to create that change that you're looking for. If you were one of those folks that were like, oh, I left my 9 to 5 because it was soul sucking, this is your opportunity to make that right. It may seem like it's like, a small drop in the bucket, but it's not. A lot of the bigger companies are following the smaller companies' lead. And that's something y'all really should keep in mind because you are literally the change that you think you are. So if you're sitting here being hard on your employees or misclassifying them, guess what? It's giving the bigger companies the opportunity to do the same. And it's very much monkey see, monkey do. And if that's not the type of vibe that you want to put out there, I'm going to encourage you to truly think about how you present things, how you are flexible with your teams, how you even build them. Because even the starting process of building your team sets the tone for everything else. Just, if you've ever had a job, think back to one of your jobs, the first jobs you had. You probably had onboarding, you probably had orientation. Did it suck? Did the onboarding suck? Did the did all that type of stuff, like, was it stressful? Was it mishandled? And then when you started working there, you realized it also matched that same energy. Like it was kind of a warning, if you will. You have the opportunity to be able to fix that when you have your own business. So if you don't like 15 rounds of interviews, don't have them. It's really not that hard. You don't have to do that. If you don't like it when people ghost you, don't ghost your candidates. I mean, it's very simple. And a lot of folks believe since they're a smaller business and they don't have access to millions and billions of dollars of capital, that they can get away with, cutting corners where it matters. And that's not true at all. Like people talk. You're wondering why folks are not applying for your roles or even sending customers your way, it's the way you're treating folks. Like when they hear things through the grapevine, it travels. You know what I'm saying? So really be cognizant of what you're doing and how you do it because it sets the tone and it's also front facing as well. And so with that part being said, I kind of want to dive into the hiring process because that's part of the future of work. If you've been lucky or just not interested in what's been going on in the past, I would say 2 years, it seems like the tech industry itself has changed. There's a ton of layoffs. There's a lot of companies that are folding or getting acquired, all the things, and it's sort of a scary time for some folks. Here's the thing, though. You can take the lessons that are happening for that from the tech industry and kind of parlay it into your own thing and create a win out of that. So, with a lot of tech companies, the interview process is brutal. Like, I'm talking 15 rounds, team placement, all that stuff. And when you're like a hungry, student or a hungry person that's out of school or whatever, you may be willing to go through that maybe the first time. But then when you see it happen a second, a third, a seventh, a 12th time, you get to a point where you're like, enough. I'm not doing that. There's no point. It's all the same song and dance. And you just retreat from, the process altogether. Well, a lot of tech companies are experiencing this because they set a tone of brutal interviews, ghosting, months of interviewing, months of tests, and all this stuff, seemingly for free because a lot of these folks are not getting compensated for their time. And people are wondering, and these companies are wondering, hey, we are this big name company. Why doesn't anyone want to work for us anymore? Because the smaller companies that are smart are coming in, figuring out what those gaps are, and they're filling them. And those employees are coming into those organizations and taking those skills with them. So you get a lot of ex Meta, ex Google, all those folks going into some of these smaller businesses and implementing some fantastic strategy to the point that most of them either don't want to leave or they end up doing their own thing. And that creates a different type of change in the work environment and in the job market altogether. Essentially, it's saying, I know that I'm worth XYZ. I know what I want. I know how I want to be treated. Anything that is beneath that, I'm not going to give it any attention. And so, as a small business owner, you have to understand that when you're coming for folks that are actually experts in what they're doing, they're going to come to you and be like, hey, this is what I desire. This is the flexibility I need. This is how much money I need. And you, as a business owner, need to be prepared. The whopping $15 and $25 an hour rates that I'm seeing is not going far anymore. That's the new minimum wage for a lot of people. Yes, even in countries that are considered developing, you can't do that anymore. You have to actually invest in your team and in your employees consistently. I'm not saying random one-offs. I'm not saying that you have to have like super expensive resort times or things like that, but you have to understand that people stay where they're valued and also when they're being compensated well, not just in money, but also in flexibility and in time and in respect. And so if you're a business owner watching this and you're running into the problem of, wow, we get these great candidates, but they don't stay long, check what I just told you. It's something in your process or even in your business that's turning them off. And so you're losing all this money cycling through the hiring, firing, quitting, fulfillment cycle when you could just be doing, what you're good at in your business. Like, and I looked this up yesterday actually. The average cost to hire someone right now is $4,000. And that's a person. That's like a new role. I just created this role for my business. That's how much it's going to cost you on average just to fill it between man hours and the processes, background checks, all that stuff. A lot of people are going to try to get around this by hiring contractors. And I'm going to tell you something. If that's what you want to do, you got to be careful about that too, because contractors have way more flexibility than any employee does at this point. You can dictate their hours. You can tell them what the assignment or the task is and give them a due date, but that's about it. So if you're someone that's like, hey, I really need someone between this hour, these hours, and these hours, you're going to have to invest in all the costs and time of hiring an employee. And you may have to do it a couple times. So, you going through this process, you're going to have to understand that it's going to cost money and time until you refine it to a point that you don't have to worry about the process as much anymore. But that doesn't mean that you're going to come out the gate that way. You know what I'm saying? So, since we are talking about the future of work, one, make sure that your interview process is stellar. And what I mean by stellar, it's not red flaggy. You're not like, giving off bad vibes, asking people to work for you for free, asking them for videos in the application and interview process, and they don't even know who the hell you are. Asking for all this intrusive information that you don't need to determine if someone's worth going through a process. Make sure that you keep that in mind. But also, with that, you have to make sure that you know how to invest in your employees' personal and professional development. And I'm not just saying that's like getting a coach, but that's like understanding that you may have to send them to conferences and invest in, different types of like certification and other types of opportunities to help them grow so that you can also grow your business and, of course, your revenue. And also understand that when you have employees do help drive revenue. Like that, it's more than just like you being the head of the a whole operation. It's having people that are putting in hours and time and like actual effort and expertise into helping your business grow because that's their job. That's an investment. But also, with that being said, just because they're doing these things, that does not mean they're going to have the same love and compassion and fire for your business as you do. And it's not very wise to recommend that they have it either. Like, that's not their place. They're there to get paid and do their job and go home. That's part of the message people at like midnight because you're panicking about something. To be honest with you, it should have never been okay in the first place. But try that mess now. You will probably down an employee and probably report it to a local employment agency because that's not okay. So, with this being the future of work, keep this in mind. Understand that investing in your employees ties into your revenue. Understand that flexibility is a must, not just for you and you want to have brand photos on the beach and stuff showing that you are living a laptop lifestyle. You shouldn't be doing that and then forcing your employees to suffer, at the same time. So, and with the future of work, we're making sure that we're actually doing the things that we're promising and that we are doing things for ourselves as well. um with that being said, because I got some notes. um yes, here's my other part I really want to elaborate on. So, work is an unnecessary is a necessary evil, unfortunately, right? So, understand that work is going to be, integrated into our life versus it being our lives. Like, again, for example, I'm able to do this right now because I have work integrated into my life. I've still been doing my day job. That didn't stop anything today. I just was able to take time to do this actual conversation because I have flexibility in my work. So, and after I'm done here, I'm going right back to work to wrap up the rest of my day. Like, having that flexibility has been extremely important for me and so many other folks so that we can be our best selves. And if we are our best selves, we're going to show up best for you and for the brand and for your business. You know what I'm saying? So, as long as you are understanding that at the end of the day, we have people that are doing these things, you should be fine. I think sometimes when we get into a certain level, we forget that people are part of this process. We're just like, things are getting done. It is what it is. But it's people behind it, even with machine learning, AI, any of that stuff. As someone that uses it in their day job, there's still people behind that. There's still people behind that. So instead of making it seem like we have a whole bunch of like faceless drones working, remember that at the end of the day, we have humans that are going to be impacted by your business and the things that you say and what you do. And word travels. I'll tell you that now. Word travels. Like people will literally sing your praises to high heaven, or they'll tear you right into the ground because they know, how you are behind closed doors. And maybe they're trying to warn or help other people in making a decision on whether or not they should partake in your business, either as an employee or as a consumer. I've seen a lot of good companies go down over bad leadership. And so if you don't want to be part of that, understand that you're still rocking with people, you're still doing great things, and you know, having that being the support and the backbone for your employees is extremely important. So, um, that's actually like kind of where I want to end this part. However, I'm also a person of the people. So, if there are any comments or questions, I would love to talk about them because I can't see anything right now. All I can see is my screen.
Thank you. Okay, first of all, this is so good. I have a bias. I love hearing you talk. At the beginning, I was like, I need like business bedtime stories by like where you just sort of tell me things I should do in my business. But so I mean, we've had quite a bit of Joe is also in for the business bedtime story. So if you just ever do want to have a side gig of that, we're your first customers. But I think I took a lot of notes actually. I think one of the things right at the end here where you were talking about how you're able to do this and be in your business as well or be in your job, the full-time job or the daytime job. I don't know what you call it.
The day job.
The day job, and about how when they take care of you, you take care of them. Like it is a reciprocal relationship that you can keep coming back to. I'm curious and I'm wondering if, in your opinion, over the next year, or maybe it's going to take longer than that, are we going to keep seeing companies stepping in? I mean, you think like a decade ago, it was like, we're going to put a ping pong table and now we're cool. And now our employees are happy. We're going to have snacks ready, and but we're still working them 36 hours a day.
Yeah.
Right. So what do you think over the next year or the next, 2 years? What's happening? What's going to change in businesses? How are they, what's the new ping pong table? I guess is my question.
So, in my opinion, I feel like they're still trying to figure that out
Okay.
because with the great resignation of 2020, that actually reset the workforce in a way that finally turned the tides against most businesses, you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying, and most employers, because people are like, okay, wait, I don't know why I'm doing all this. This is not what I want. And,
Hmm.
it changed everything. And so companies are like resistant a little bit in certain cases to actually embrace the folks that are looking to have more flexibility in their life and in their work. They still want worker bees that are worked, essentially to death, and then they can just replace it with another body. There's a tussle, in my opinion, between employees slash candidates and companies because of that. A lot of the companies want to hold on to the days of yore instead of embracing the change in the future. And in my opinion, I'll even say within the next 6 months to a year, they're going to have to give it up because based on data, they're losing. And when I say they, I'm talking about the employers. They're losing. They're losing all across the board. They're losing money from their stocks are dipping if they're publicly traded. Venture capital firms are pulling out their money. You know, you have to actually listen to the market even if you don't want to, because it's either you listen to the folks that are, running the machine, or you don't have a machine left and you're just sitting there like, oh, wait, I have nothing now. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Hmm.
You have to be able to embrace that change. And so I see that smaller businesses are going to come in and scoop up what the larger businesses are leaving on the table,
Hmm.
and they have that capability to actually make things great, like truly great, and actually have happy employees that are willing to help the business grow and also be able to go to a concert. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of companies and the people that are running them need to buckle up and understand that fighting the change this time around is not benefiting them.
Yeah. And probably costing them more money,
It
really.
is. It's cost them a lot because a lot of times now, the larger companies will have massive layoffs, and then 2 months later, when the new quarter starts, try to hire people back or come and have people
Oh,
come in this
yeah.
contract for lower rates. And I just said the streets are talking. It's not working anymore. People are turning them down.
Hmm.
Like the companies that the dream companies of yesterday are the nightmare companies of today.
Yeah, I mean, I have a colleague who was accidentally let go, and then they realized that they were responsible for all of the internal security.
I've heard that a lot.
Uh,
Recently, I've heard that a lot.
and then they're like, "Wait a second, we have no ability." Like once they actually canceled their login, they also couldn't log into any because it was like tied into the system. They
Mhm.
couldn't even log into the system. So then they had to basically hire them back to hack into the system. And that came actually at a very they tried to lowball, be like, we're bringing you back, isn't that nice? And they're like, no, I have offers, like, so you better make it worthwhile. Also, you can't
Right.
access your internal server, so what are you going to do, right? And it's just this kind of, and it it was an accident. They actually didn't even intend to lay that person off. It was a click of the HR button, and they got a notice saying you. It was like a big schmozzle, and yeah, so and that's a costly mistake. That's a costly.
It's probably cost them thousands, if not millions, depending on the size of the company,
Yep, huge,
and
global,
time.
a global
Yeah. Oh,
company.
yeah. Oh, yeah, they lost a lot of money.
Yep, never mind the fact that it highlighted my colleague had basically been telling for years, like, "Having this tied to my login is not safe. What if I get hit by a bus tomorrow?" And asking
Right.
infrastructure to make their job easier, and the company denied it, and then now they found that they've gotta hustle and get that infrastructure in. Like, what?
Precisely. And that's what I mean by companies coming like, smaller companies coming in and filling in the gap by
Mhm,
taking those employees who are like, "Oh, so you know about infrastructure. Can you advise us on what we can do?"
mhm,
And, compensating them well, and I stress well for a reason because
mhm,
the downside that I see with a lot of smaller businesses, they don't accommodate for wages in the world at all.
mhm,
And it's like, "Well, this is what I can afford." Your budget is not my problem.
mhm,
Either you're investing in what I can do, or you can do it with yourself. I don't care. Like, I have nothing to lose here, but you do.
mhm. Yeah. And I talked earlier, like I used to recommend it's 3 to 6 months that you would have their salary saved for small business owners before you hire someone. And then Joa pointed out that it's now, would you say 6 to 9 months, Joa, that it can
Mhm.
actually cost you when somebody leaves your business. So that's
Yeah.
actually what you need to budget in, is that 6 to 9 months of somebody's salary in the bank, not in money coming in the bank.
Okay, I'm gonna actually elaborate on the bank versus coming in thing too,
Yes. Yes.
because I've seen a lot of chit chat around that topic recently.
Hmm.
And people are like, "Oh, well, my launch didn't go well for this month, and my other launch didn't go well, and so now I'm stuck XYZ."
Hmm.
Okay, as a business owner and you have a team, your launch is not just it shouldn't be how you fund payroll.
Hmm.
It shouldn't be. Like, you need to prepare just like everyone tells us about having savings. And yes, I know there's different economic stats with that. But as a business owner, you better have some type of backup sources of funding because things do happen. Like
Mhm.
launches go awry,
You get
a
sick.
pipeline burst,
Yep.
you get sick. Like have that in the bank, even if it's a stowaway account that you have to go through, Fort Knox to get to.
Mhm.
Have it. Have it somewhere so that companies, when they have lower quarters, they still have to pay people.
Mhm.
We are here to actually make money and generate revenue in this capitalist society.
Mhm.
We have to.
Mhm. Yeah, we have to. We absolutely have to. Actually, this is an interesting discussion. It's like, and it leads into a bigger thing about capitalism, where a lot of people don't, they don't charge enough. They don't budget properly.
Mhm.
We know we've all gone through the profit plan,
Yeah,
and you realize where you've been shortchanging yourself and maybe your employees and your whole business to be. But it's this like thing, like you have no favors. You're not doing yourself, your business, or your team any favors by undercharging. All
correct.
it's doing is causing this system of, "Will I get paid next week?" And that is
Right.
not stress you want your team to be under.
No, or the backup plan is when payday hits and there's no direct deposit and folks are looking for your house.
Yeah. Or
because they're
or
like,
look at
"Where's the
you,
money?"
Kroger. I know it's
Right.
not financial, but it is a system. Like, come on, like, it's a payment system. You gotta test that stuff out before you realize, you're playing with it. Yeah, absolutely. And the smaller business can pivot faster and bring yeah, I mean, that's the thing too, is it's kind of like planning out if you're gonna have a team. We know we can't do it all ourselves. We know that we need support. I'm not saying to you, don't do it. We're also not talking about like going across the seas to get help
Mhm.
at a lower wage. We haven't talked about that, but it is looking at, who's the best for your team. You mentioned too about really taking care of your team so that your team takes care of you.
Yeah.
I feel like it seems obvious, but people miss it. Why do you think, is it capitalism? Is it just selfishness? Is it shortchanging? I don't know. What is it? Why are people missing that key lesson?
So it's a little bit of what you said, but there's a little bit of extra in there. Sometimes folks fall into this second or third group of I am now a supreme overlord. Hear me rule. And it's giving I was bullied in elementary school and I
Yeah.
haven't let go of that trauma.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them will have that mean girl, mean boy, mean cat energy towards their employees and then wonder why, hey, no one wants to work for me
Yeah.
because you suck, because you won't let go of that mess.
Yeah.
And I've experienced it working with some folks. I've seen it, and it's like, what do you stand to gain from this? Because it's clearly not working out for your revenue. You have high turnover, nobody likes you, and your cat now lives in my house. So you literally don't win. You know what I'm saying? You literally don't win at all. And so I really wish it was just the capitalist like conversation, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's truly, I'm a mean person. I'm releasing that energy now because I've been holding it in for 10, 20, 30, 50, 70 years.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying is if you plan to get a team, also get therapy.
Yes, yes, please. And do not use your employees as therapy.
Yes.
They don't want to hear it. Not to be rude. Like nobody was like, oh, there's that weird guy or weird gal. Let's like turn off our cameras when they get on Zoom.
Mhm.
Because that happens from what
Mhm.
I heard. So
Allegedly.
allegedly. So, so if you don't want to give that vibe, and also I will say this: sometimes people leave companies because it's them. They may not want to be there anymore. They may have found a better opportunity for them. Life, sometimes be life in. You can't take that personal. That's just the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
So you should always accommodate just in case someone does leave on their own volition. But also, don't be mean about it. Like, don't be rude because they left. It's better that they left under good terms than for them to wait till they're miserable and everything's coming against them and they leave. And then you're really in a lurch.
And then you got Glassdoor reviews
Oh,
popping up.
and it's bad when they give a whole like soliloquy and they've been holding that in for a while. So
Yeah.
when you have people doing and you have multiple people at various times doing the same thing, that reflects on you and your leadership skills. I don't care if they report to somebody else. That still ties to you because you should still have a peek into your organization and the business that you operate,
Mhm.
even if it's not day to day.
Yep. Okay, anything we missed? Anything before we wrap it up? Anybody have any questions?
Hey, business bestie, it's me. I loved everything that you said, and I had a thought that sort of ties some of it together. It ties together the question of like what the new ping pong table is. It ties together like why these people who run companies often don't treat their employees well. I think some of this has to do with like the myth of individualism, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that
Oh,
when people are like ruling the roost, right? Like they prioritize themselves in this way because they're like patting themselves on the back for like how well they've done a thing. Like they're so great. And they don't like it almost necessitates like stepping on other people in order to like
oof,
hold that image of
Yeah.
yourself, like having
oof.
done it yourself. But I think that Lakshmia, you were talking about like, the laptop on the beach lifestyle, but like don't make your employees suffer if you're doing that, right? I think the new ping pong table is like that consistency, that
Yeah.
congruency of like, yeah, I'm living good, but I'm going to help you live good too. Or like, yeah, you're going to have to like suffer and work hard here, but I'm suffering and working hard too. right? Like the collective, like we're doing this together is how we undo some of this.
I agree. Like honestly, I'm like the company I work for, our CEO is very involved, but not so much that it impacts our work in a negative fashion.
Yeah,
Like, and he also has other things that he does, but we work well because he trusts us with his vision.
yeah,
And if we do, go astray, we have a conversation about that as civilized adults. And
yeah,
we work from there to figure out how to stay on track. It's never like, I am the supreme overlord, hear me rule. It's never that.
right.
It's always, how can we make sure this doesn't happen? How do we make sure that we're connected? How do we make sure that we stay on task and do the things that we need to do?
Hmm.
That's not hard. And truly, I just really want more smaller business to adopt that that mentality, because you can get so much more done and truly make a good impact and still make money. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to be like, "Oh, I'm not gonna make any money from this." Yeah, you will. It may not be as instantaneous as you want it to be, but it will still come to you in revenue and recurring sales if you do things the right way, whatever that looks like for your organization and your business model.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I love it. Oh, Lakshmia, I'm so happy that you love your job, but I know we miss you so much in the Catalyst on the regular, but I know you'll be in there popping in when you can, and I do appreciate you, and I always you're just one of my favorite people.
Aw,
I
thank
just
you.
love how you approach things and your viewpoints, and you're just so freaking brilliant all the time. I
Preach.
know, like I don't really know anything that you're bad at. Maybe
Oh,
keeping
I'm bad at time zones.
Oh, time
I
zones? Okay. I was gonna say
I'm not good at
keeping
that.
Sammy completely happy, he's very demanding.
He is. He is so Sammy is my dog. He is very demanding. He has a very busy social calendar that we have to keep up. And I wish I can say I'm lying. I'm not.
I
I'm not. Like, I'm not even sure if he's home right now, and I'm home. I'm not even sure if he's here.
I was putting together the visuals for this and, like, I put the picture and, of course, it's got Sammy on your lap, and then, like, it says, like, February 8th, and it was, like, kind of over half over Sammy's face, and I had to redesign your picture because I was like, "I don't want Sammy coming for me,"
He will.
because I put banner over his face. Like, I was just like I purposely was like, "No, sorry. These are the rules. I must
It
abide."
it is. It really is.
Yeah,
And I'm not surprised if he's home. I would not be surprised if he's not home right now.
he's a I just love that he's got his own social schedule of
He
things to go
does.
to.
He literally does. He has like play dates and he's like meeting other dogs and being around other people. And I'm like, okay, wow, I don't even have a tenth of this.
I
He's living his best life.
He really is. And that's what I aspire to daily. So
love it.
if worse comes to worse, be a Sammy.
I know. That's like you said something about your cat now lives in my house, and then it paired with the idea that we had the last panel about the AI, about how when AI takes over we'll just be like their pets, and all I could think of is like, oh, to just be someone's cat. I'm in
Right.
for that. I'm in for that. That's the evolution I'm ready to go for. Just give me some treats, I'll let you rub my
Yep.
belly. Like, come on, let's
Good
do
much.
this. It's so for you it'll be Sammy, how Sammy's, if you want to live like Sammy, definitely this is the way to go. Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up, but I thank you so much for doing
No
this. This, of course,
problem.
is our last talk of the Catalyst Connect. If you've loved what we do, please do check us out at createtherules.com/catalyst-connect. If you want to go follow Lakshmia, Lakshmia's on LinkedIn, but Lakshmia's busy. So be prepared to, if you want Lakshmia to be consulting, there is a significant price tag attached to it, and it is 1000% worth it, because the insights that Lakshmia can bring into your business, into your hiring practices, is just phenomenal. So definitely do go connect with Lakshmia over on LinkedIn. And then just find us more at createtherulesevents.com. Thanks everybody for coming. I'm going to end the stream. Bye everybody.